an hour, high temperatures in the middle 50s. The winds will relax late tonight. It's clear, but the coldest night since the end of March. The city dropping back to 35, the suburbs upper 20s. I'm meteorologist Adam Joseph with your 6 ABC forecast.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Time with family, laughs with friends, and cash back. Discover's got you covered on the last one. That's because Discover doubles all the cash back you've earned on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cash Back Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card. Shop early, save big all month long during Black Friday buildup at Lowe's. Get a free Select tool when you buy a Select battery or combo kit because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/7 through 11/20. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Your home for Villanova basketball is WDAS and WD273D. Fox Sports Radio Philadelphia. Come on! Gonna win, you will take it over. It's the Takeover, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. The NBA Cup is back, and Sean Brace and Sean Barnard are all over it for you right here, right now, with the NBA Cup Takeover.
Yes, indeed. You heard the man. It is a great day here in Philadelphia. Yes, the NBA Cup #1, the Emirates NBA Cup is back, but let's not bury the lead. Joel Embiid is back. And it just feels like a new day for this 76ers organization. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to break down tonight's game against the New York Knicks and, of course, the other 7 matchups in the first night here for the NBA Cup presented by Emirates. And, hey, we're here on the Takeover here on The Gambler, normally the Daily Ticket, but right here, right now, it is the NBA Cup Takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. They have a great promo going on. A matter of fact, a twofer. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. For the next hour, nothing but NBA conversation. And I had to call in the dog himself, Sean Barnard. You know, nobody knows the game better than Sean Barnard. He joins me daily on the Daily Ticket, picks and rolls. Sean, great to have you. And as I said, let's not bury the lead. Joel Embiid, welcome back, big man.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a new season for this Sixers team. 0-0 by my count in the record book. And even with the slow start, 2.5 games out of third place in the Eastern Conference. So I do think there's reason to look up for Sixers fans and excited for just an awesome night of hoops across the board. I got picks and breakdown for all 8 games for you, Sean Bray. So I'm fired up and ready to go.
And of course, you can find Sean Barnard's great work over at DK Nation. He represents the squad for DraftKings Sportsbook. So we got a lot to get to, but let's go ahead and get everybody caught up. First and foremost, this is year number 2 for the NBA Cup. And last year, the LA Lakers have a banner in their rafters. All right. So we're playing for something a little here. Okay. Of course, the team that made a little bit more noise for themselves than anybody throughout the course of the NBA Cup and all the way into the playoffs was, of course, the Indiana Pacers, who played really well and I think really kicked the door in because of this tournament, made me look at them in a different light. So Sean Barnard, all 30 teams, they're broken down into 6 groups, 3 and 3, of course, with the conferences randomly selected. Is there a team out there that you could possibly see maybe already starting with what we've played 11, 12 games into the NBA season, but could very well be the Indiana Pacers of 2023 this season?
There is, and I think it's a little bit of an obvious right in front of our face here is I think it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's the team that feels like they're peaking early this year at the right time for the NBA Cup from that perspective. I still have a little bit of doubts as far as the postseason outlook for this team. Do got to give them a ton of credit. Looks like Darius Garland is back on track after a really impressive start to his career, got derailed a little bit by injuries last year. He looks back to playing like himself. Donovan Mitchell is the superstar we know him to be. Evan Mobley does look like he's taking that next step. He looks more aggressive this year. I've been impressed with the level of play and really the offensive output that we're seeing from him. So for me, the Cavaliers sitting at second at odds, and I will share my screen, taking a look at all the top options here, but you can see the Cavs sitting there at plus 850. That is probably my pick to win the NBA Cup. I think they're that perfect combination of a team that will take it serious, have the talent, and a team like the Boston Celtics. They can slip up at any moment, and they obviously have their eyes on bigger goals. They are the favorites there. So I'm rolling with the Cavs as my top option to win the NBA Cup this season.
Hey, look, they're 12-0. I believe it's only 7 times in NBA history a team has started off with that record. And when you're talking about teams that open up the season perfect at 12-0, we're talking about teams that go on to do special things.
Yeah.
One of those teams happens to be the Golden State Warriors. When they broke the record, they opened up the season 24-0, if I'm not mistaken on that. So a little ways to go for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but a nice win by them last night over the Chicago Bulls to remain perfect at this point in time. Also, nice night by SGA, too, with his career high last night. Looking good.
45.
All small ball last night, paying off for OKC.
Yeah, I mean, no Chet Holmgren, no Isaiah Hartenstein, and no Jalen Williams as their three primary big man options. So Kenrick Williams did make his return, but they opted to go small ball. Worked out just fine for him. So there will be matchups where they struggle. Obviously, you hate to see injuries for everyone, and Chet is going to be out an extended period of time, 8 to 10 weeks with that hip fracture there. So some unfortunate stuff. They will look better when they are a full, complete puzzle with Hartenstein playing a key piece, and of course, Chet really the number 2 option there. So a bit of a tough break for OKC, but it's early enough in the season that they'll be all right, and they're surviving for now for sure.
All right, we got you for the next hour. It's the takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. All things Emirates NBA Cup right here. Get involved in the conversation at Fox PHL Gambler on socials. Of course, we're streaming live on YouTube and as always on the iHeartRadio app. Sean Barnard, you could fill in the cracks, fill in the blanks here if I forget anything, but some of the big details as far as this in-season tournament. Again, now has the tagline, the sponsorship with the Emirates this year. So that's something new. They changed the courts around too a little bit. I love the 76ers blue down there at the Wells Fargo Center. I
Much
think that's
better this year. Much better.
I think that's a tremendous look. So like the way that is right there. But as I said, we got all 30 teams broken into 6 groups. They're going to play Tuesdays and Fridays until we crown a champ in Las Vegas on December the 17th, I believe is also a Tuesday as well. The one thing that I have noticed, and you look at the schedule, and specifically it really hit me last night with the 3 teams, the 3 games, I believe, all starting at the same time. The NBA is putting a lot of work into this scheduling, right, to try and give it as even playing field as possible. So I got to give them a tip of the cap on that to show that, look, they're trying to make something different happen here. Some might say it's forcing it. Others enjoy it, like myself. I did enjoy it last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Remember, there were some different things that took place as far as the margin of victory matters. Remember, there were some discussions at the end of those games. I think we had a back and forth between coaches. They were upset. So these are some things that, you know what? It's the mundane regular season. November, most people tell you that the NBA season doesn't start till Christmas. So I look at this as something that's a little bit different, and it kind of gets the juices going. And of course, when you fire up DraftKings, take advantage of everything that they have to offer. And oh, by the way, 76ers and Knicks getting the party started in night 1. I'm looking forward to it. But as I said, we're going to go Tuesdays and Fridays until we crown a champ in Las Vegas. The round robin, as with the victory of margin, does matter. We'll see how that plays out coming throughout the first of 3 games here, so don't get caught up in it for night 1. But you did fire up the overall odds to win it all as far as the Emirates NBA Cup. And I'm curious, with that thought process of looking at some teams that are playing for the bigger prize, and we already are dealing with a ton of injuries. And I'm looking at a team like the Phoenix Suns, who are already without Kevin Durant. Boston Celtics, they just won the championship.
Sure.
Steph Curry. Like, where I'm going. I'm painting the picture, and I'm asking you, what is your take on this? The teams that are battling for an NBA championship, do you think that they're going to put a little bit more stock into this, or maybe they're looking at it getting their young guns playing? Or do you think, you know what, man, if they're going to roll the ball out there, let's check rock, as you say, and let's go and crown a champion here?
Yeah, I think sometimes what gets overlooked is these are the top tier as far as competitive people on this planet, these NBA athletes. They want to win every time they're on the floor. So I don't think there's going to be like a coasting through it. It's definitely the mindset behind this entire tournament is just to provide a little bit of a different outlook or a little juice to what would be a normal regular season game. So while these are tournament games, I will make it clear that they do still count in the standings as a regular season game as well. So that is a part of the whole season picture, but it does add a little different juice to it with the new court, with a little pressure. And they've done a nice job pairing up some rivalry matchups as well, as seen with this Knicks and Sixers team. So it is clear the NBA is putting a whole lot of work in it. I do think for the most part, teams are going to take it seriously for that very reason there. I think every team will have a little bit of a different approach. But to me, this is about, as far as the teams that are going to be contenders, it are the ones that are peaking right away. while I just mentioned the Knicks and Sixers, those are two examples of teams who had a lot of moving parts this offseason who haven't fully gotten on the same page yet. And then you look at a team like the Cavaliers, who we just talked about, they're obviously running it back from a roster standpoint, had a coaching change this offseason, but there is that familiarity with each other. So I think there's an advantage for the teams that have been together for a little bit longer. But I do think overall, there will probably be an increased intensity this year compared from last year.
I like that. Cousin Nicky checking in. You know, he's a diehard Hoops fan. He says he has the Cavs or Warriors winning the NBA Cup. And that's a good shot, right? Like, you're talking about two of the better teams right here, right now. You and I were breaking it down last week, and we said that, you know what, you have to list both of those franchises as contenders for the NBA championship, let alone the NBA Cup. But we're focusing on all things NBA Cup, of course, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sean Bray, Sean Barnard with you. And that's where we're getting our odds from. First of all, to win the NBA in-season tournament 2024, Boston Celtics plus 425, Cavs plus 850, Knicks 9-1, T-Wolves 10-1, OKC Thunder 10-1 as well. You got the Denver Nuggets 12-1, the Mavs 14-1, the Warriors 16-1, and then we're getting down to a little bit of the nitty-gritty there with the Bucks, who have not played well at all, and I don't see them turning it around. The Pacers 22-1, the Kings, and then the 76ers there at 22-1. So I do believe that there is some value there with some of those teams that aren't necessarily at the top competing for an NBA championship. I think we could look at a team potentially like the Clippers to make some noise here. They haven't played all that well, but you never know. The Suns, as I said, without Kevin Durant, that's a tough loss. But maybe there might be a team that could sneak up and make life interesting for some of these teams at the top. Just to let you know, DraftKings Sportsbook rolling out some serious promos. You got to take advantage of these. The NBA Cup Double Up Profit Boost Pack. Yeah, that's right. They're offering 2 profit boosts for all things NBA Cup games. All you have to do is get into DraftKings Sportsbook, download the app. If you don't, new users, promo code BRACE, please let them know you're listening to us. If you do have a DraftKings Sportsbook, then you know where you're getting your promos from. Just hit the Profit Boost Pack, and you're going to get 2 of them. It's the NBA Cup Double Up. And first of all, you can place one on an NBA Cup same-game parlay, and then the other one would be for the live NBA Cup wagering. All right, so once these games get going, in-game play there, take advantage of both of those profit boosts that they got going on over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Is there a team, Sean Barnard, before we move off into the main topic of the day, and of course the 76ers and the Knicks here for us here in Philly, is there a team that necessarily is under 20-1? The cutoff is the Warriors at 16-1, Bucks from the Bucks down at 20-1, that maybe you could float an idea of getting out, advancing, and then making life difficult for some of these big teams at the top.
Yeah, I liked your Clippers shot, to be perfectly honest, and we're seeing them at plus 10,000 odds. I actually think this is a pretty perfect roster for James Harden at this point in his career. Norman Powell has been incredible to start this season, really taking that next step and backing up his addition by subtraction claim after Paul George left this offseason. They have a bunch of dogs that are ready to defend, the Derrick Jones Jr.'s, the Chris Dunns. There are a bunch of guys just flying around the perimeter, making things happen for that team. Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey. I like the way this team plays. I do think that they are better than their record shows to this point, and I do think that they are hungry. So I think the Clippers aren't a bad chance there, but still probably lean towards the Cavs is my favorite choice.
I like the split screen too. Nice work by you. Doing a little
Appreciate it.
I like this. All right, Sean Barnard, let's do it. Let's get into the 76ers and the Knicks. It's the return of the big man. Finally, curious. When you saw, now this number has moved in the last 3 days.
Yeah.
DraftKings put it up, I believe on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Sixers were favored by a point. Then it flipped. The Knicks were favored by a point. This game is being played at the Wells Fargo Center. Sixers are now catching 3 points. What is your immediate read on the number itself? You're getting Joel Embiid back. Paul George is healthy. Of course, I know Tyrese Maxey is down. But bottom line is, shouldn't there be a little bit more momentum from the point spread perspective for the Sixers? And is that concerning in your mind? But the initial reaction on the line is what?
Yeah, more confusing than concerning, I would say. And I'll say as recently as last night, I saw it -1 in favor of the Sixers. So a pretty significant shift this morning. Embiid is expected to be back. Pretty much certain that he will be playing. I expect there to be some sort of minutes limit. My guess would be in the range of 25 to 30 minutes, but there has not been any sort of indication from the team. We might hear from Nick Nurse pregame about it, or he might even keep this one a little closer to the vest, which he tends to do and Joel seems to prefer. So I wouldn't expect a ton of information there. I don't think either one of these teams have played their best basketball on the season. Obviously, we remember the pretty hateful playoff series between the two of them here. Much different rosters on both sides of things. So this is a bit of a new look. I think the throwback rivalry between Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid is a nice addition to this rivalry that was already brewing there. So I'm not worried by the number. I like the Sixers to win tonight, and I do think Joel Embiid changes everything for this roster. So very excited to see it on the floor, and this is pretty much an ideal script for what you could ask for an NBA Cup game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, especially for game one here. Now we fire up DK and we take a look at the player prop or player point prop for Joel Embiid, 25.5 at -115. Now, this is a hot topic in the Gambler Gang Slack chat, and we even brought it online. Sam checked it in, and he believes that Joel Embiid is going to coast, quote, coast to 30 tonight. I can't get there. I cannot get there. And I'm going to give you my reason, and you could obviously object, and we'll go ahead and see if we can cook up a winner here. I just feel like we have seen this before where Joel Embiid has come back after an injury, the start of season, maybe a layoff after the All-Star break. It takes the big man a little while to get going. Yeah. Now, I am well aware of what he has in his arsenal, and he could sleepwalk to 30 as he did many times last year. I just think we are painting a pretty perfect picture for us to assume that Joel Embiid is going to, quote, coast to 30. So all I'm saying is just easy. Now, I could be eating my words come halftime. He could have 40, but that's going to irk me even more if I'm honest with you. Anyways, your thoughts on that? And like, again, are we talking about Joel Embiid is just going to go off and they're going to have to keep him in there? Again, we're talking about a minutes restriction at the end of the day too.
Yeah. I mean, so for starters here, you're absolutely right about it takes Joel some time to catch up to speed, that he traditionally has not been one of these guys. Kawhi Leonard is kind of a success story that I point to as a guy that can pretty much flip the switch. He's back on the court and looks like himself. That's not quite Joel Embiid. So I hear you on that, Brace. I hear you on the fitness concerns as well. We have no idea what this guy looks like from a health or fitness level perspective because we have not seen him play basketball at all this year by any standard since the Olympics. Now, I'm still siding with Sam that I do think that Embiid's going to have a day. I think he can get to 30 points. And the biggest reason why I believe that is the Knicks defense has been really, really bad this year. And to hit you with a couple stats on this, for starters, the unit as a whole has the worst defensive rating among opponents with 100+ minutes, that being the starting unit for this team. So the worst defensive rating, Karl Anthony Towns specifically allowing 91% shooting in the restricted area this year. I will say I did see a little bit of pushback that was initially reported by Tim Bontemps. Did see a couple highlights from Knicks fans of ones that weren't counted in that he probably deserved. So a bit higher figure than is probably the reality there. But the point still stands that Karl Anthony Towns has been hidden by Rudy Gobert for the past couple seasons and is a really bad defender at the big man position. That was part of the limitations when he was the lone guy in Minnesota. That's why they went out and got Gobert. And obviously they had some success as a team before moving on from him. So New York adjusting to that very clearly. I'll also add with the Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid matchup, through his career, they faced off 11 times. Embiid has averaged 28.6 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. In their last 4 games, Embiid has gone for 51 points, 32 points, 34 points, and 42 points. So Embiid has gotten the better of this matchup. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns can match up with him by any effect. And when I speak about my optimism for the Sixers as a whole, it's probably less about Joel Embiid stepping in and being the best player on the floor and more about all the parts around him just making so much more sense while he's out there. So I believe in it from a team standpoint, and I do believe if New York leaves Karl Anthony Towns one-on-one for Joel Embiid, that will be barbecue chicken from start to finish in this one.
Barbecue chicken, baby. Pacers, last time out for the Knicks, Pacers got the best of them. That was on Sunday, 132-121. On Friday night, Knicks did beat a really bad Milwaukee Bucks squad, especially to start the season, 116-94. So not going to read too much into that. And, of course, from the 76ers perspective, last time out for Philly was on Sunday, where they were able to get that victory over the Charlotte Hornets in overtime by 2 points, 107-105. All right, so 25.5, and you say over. I think I saw your final stat or box score for Joel Embiid at 27. You think he's going to go for tonight?
Yeah, that's my prediction. 29 minutes, 27 points is kind of what I have him penciling in my head. Again, a lot of this comes from I have zero confidence Karl Anthony Towns being able to hang with them. And I would put, if I could bet the over on fouls for Karl Anthony Towns, I would absolutely hammer that one because I think there's a pretty high chance he fouls out of this game.
All right, so now you're getting the juices going for me. Now I'm fired up because, you remember the back and forth between these two guys. Of course, Ben Simmons making Karl Anthony Towns tap out.
Oh, yeah.
And Ben's actually playing well right now for the Brooklyn Nets. Speaking of DraftKings, Julian Edlow texted me last night. He was on his rebounds and assist, I want to say, in a cash. So nice work by Julian there in the first half, too, believe it or not. Back over to the 76ers, the team that matters here. Let's talk about Paul George. Mm-hmm. And again, not going to get too crazy because you can't, you have to factor in that the whole team is not there. Right. Now he's dealing without Maxey. He's going to get Embiid back. We'll see. What has been your assessment so far? Again, 2-7, 9 games into the season about Paul George. Should we be concerned maybe that Father Time is catching up a little bit quicker here?
I'm not willing to say that until we see them play the three of them together with Maxey and Embiid there. He's also been battling a minutes limit, so he hasn't gotten that full opportunity. And Paul George himself has been vocal about he hasn't really found a flow with the short doses of minutes that they originally started with him in. To Nick Nurse's credit, he did adjust to that and give him longer run and then longer rest periods in the past game that he played in. It hasn't been perfect from Paul George by any means, but this is still a massive upgrade over what the Sixers had before. The two areas specifically that have stood out to me that are going to really help this team is his ability to drive and create for others, kick out, is something that's going to be huge on this team moving forward, and that will translate from the entire season. If I'm looking at the Paul George stats, I feel really good about him and like his props better than Joel tonight. I like the 18.5 points from the standpoint of we saw how much Tyrese Maxey benefited when Paul George returned to the floor and the way things open up when there was another notable guy commanding defensive attention. I expect the exact same principle to apply with Joel Embiid now sharing the floor with Paul George, and for all the looks to just be significantly easier for him. And I also love the assists and rebounds. That's even my favorite prop in this specific game. You can get an 8.5, that a little bit juiced odds there. I prefer the 9.5 to get some plus value. He had 8 assists and 9 assists in his past 2 games, 6 of which in the last game went to Gershon Yabusele, which I think is a pretty cool chemistry story growing there. But I do think that Paul George is going to be involved from the playmaking standpoint and still a guy that's going to need to help out on the boards because it will still be an all hands on deck type of output from the rebounding standpoint. So I like Paul George's props a lot. I'm not ready to declare him struggling just yet.
Yeah, and DraftKings needs to release those Yabusele props. Let's go, DK. Let's go. We're waiting for him here in Philly. I can't believe we're saying that, but he's played well. So I'm definitely looking. Yeah, exactly. Paul George, 18.5, as we just said here on a DraftKings Sportsbook. So something to keep your eye on there. All right. I know it's a new season, and this is why I'd love to talk hoop with you and talk about these two teams specifically here, but I just remember getting dominated on the boards. Happened a lot last year, but really specifically in that series against the Knicks. And Josh Hart was the guy that was really all over the place, pulling it down. Still the same vibe heading into tonight. Your thoughts as far as who's going to own the glass? Because I was reading some things earlier today that there might be some opportunity to make some money here as far as on the rebound props.
Yeah, not as fearful as was the case last year. No Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson still being hurt at this point. It's going to be Karl Anthony Towns as the primary rebounding option outside of course, Josh Hart, who really is the guy to circle there because he does crash the glass. He does it in such a unique and effective way coming from the guard spot that it creates issues for teams. Talking about kind of a matchup perspective, would not surprise me at all if the Sixers roll out Joel Embiid as the primary defender on Josh Hart to force him to shoot from the perimeter, and that being kind of the way that they match up with this Knicks team and force to attack. That would force guys like Gershon Yabusele or maybe even Paul George or Caleb Martin to get the Karl Anthony Towns task. But I think that's more beneficial to the Sixers team, both to help out with the boards and to keep Joel just operated as a rim protector closer to the basket. So not as significant of a concern as last season when talking about the matchup, but still a weakness in the Sixers overall. I'm hoping Joel Embiid's ready to settle things down, and curious if we see Yabusele playing the power forward next to him, which would probably be the best rebounding front court that we've seen for the Sixers team in several years.
All right, Sean Barnard with me here. Of course, this is the Takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, getting you ready for all things Emirates NBA Cup. We got 8 matchups tonight. And we will hit on the other 7 games in just a second. A couple more points here on the Sixers and Knicks. Knicks are 3-point road favorites. Does that have anything to do with the fact that A couple big pieces for the New York Knicks are pretty comfortable at the Wells Fargo Center, and they showed us that last year. Of course, I'm talking about the Nova Knicks. Jalen Brunson, come on down. 25.5 is his player prop for points scored tonight, Sean Barnard. And against the Pacers, he dropped 33. Bucks on Friday, he was 15, 21, 29, 36. So, of course, you can do the math on that when he cashed and when he did not there. 3 out of the 5 in the last 5 matchups did. Something interesting to note here as well. Last 4 games I am seeing 28.5 is what the number closed at. So tonight, DraftKings rolling a 25.5. A, what's your read on that? And B, is there value on Brunson returning to the floor that he played a lot of his basketball in at Villanova, place that he's very comfortable here in Philadelphia? Of course, diehard Eagles fan. We never want to not put that out there. I know that irks some Knicks fans, but 25.5 is his number. Are you looking at Brunson at all tonight?
Yeah, kind of nothing jumps out to me from either side for this. That I probably lean towards the under from kind of a breakdown standpoint, that I do think Caleb Martin is going to be the guy. These are the type of matchups that he's brought in to take on, and I expect that to be the matchup. I thought Kelly Oubre honestly did a really nice job on Brunson through most of the playoffs. He's good enough that he gets his moments. He started pretty slow this year and has recovered. His average is up to directly 25 on the season, and his shooting numbers have gone up significantly, shooting 41.7% from beyond the arc this year, 5.3 attempts per game, 47.6% from the field, which is about right for him. So he's gotten himself back on track, and this is obviously a matchup that he had some success in the playoffs. I don't love it from either direction. I'm very curious to see what the matchup standpoint is. I would like to see Caleb Martin just all over him and shut him down. So my heart wants to go towards the under, but Brunson is a caliber of talent that I'm just staying away from this one.
All right, Sean. One more as far as this game is concerned. Team totals 107.5 for the Knicks, 105.5 for the 76ers. Anything there for you with the team totals? A lot of people love to play those as well.
Yeah, both feel a little low to me, to be perfectly honest. And I like the over for this game, and I like both their team overs. That the Knicks have kind of an identity as this defensive team, but they haven't shown that so far this year. A lot of high-scoring affairs that they've given up, and more of a run-and-gun pace of play than you expect to be the case with them. And the Sixers are obviously going to get a huge scoring boost with Joel Embiid. Like I said at the beginning, to me, this is less about me expecting Joel Embiid to step in and be an MVP caliber talent from day one, and more about just the whole Sixers roster fitting together and making a whole lot more sense with him there. So I think we're going to see more scoring than those numbers indicate, and would slam the over across the board there.
All right. We also have plenty of other markets to choose from here on DraftKings for the NBA Cup, and one of them happens to be the in-season MVP. Tatum 7-1, Mitchell 10-1, SGA 10-1, Brunson 12-1. He's a top 5 as far as odds-on favorite here, Sean Barnard, to win the in-season MVP. Anything there for you on that one, or you just can't get there because he's a New York Knick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm less optimistic from the standpoint of like the Knicks are still figuring out the growing pains, that I don't see them winning this in-season cup. Like I said, I think this is more in favor of the teams that have been together for several years, and Mikal Bridges has yet to find his stride on this team. Frankly, has not been nearly a big enough part of the game plan as he should be, especially when considering how much they invested to bring him to New York there. Karl Anthony Towns looked like he's getting on the right track now, and have seen some nice flashes. He's played particularly well in recent games, so I do think that's figuring itself out. I'd probably slide towards Donovan Mitchell for the same reason of I'm sticking with my Cavs take here. This is more of like, if you do have your feeling and want some extra value for who's going to win it, that's probably the way I would suggest betting that if you feel the Celtics are going to win, rather than taking I believe it was 4-1 for them to win it. Jason Tatum at plus 700, worth a shot there. Donovan Mitchell almost certainly will be the MVP if the Cavaliers do win it. So plus 1,000 rather than the plus 700 for them. So that's probably the way that I look about it. But if the Knicks win it, it'll absolutely be on the back of Brunson to an extent. So can't hate it.
Yeah, and remember that last year it was headlined by nothing but superstars.
Right.
First of all, LeBron James did win the MVP. He averaged 26, 8, and 7 while shooting 56% and 60% from downtown. Good grief. And to fill out the all-tournament team, it was Giannis, AD, Kevin Durant, Tyrese Halliburton, and LeBron. So something to keep in mind there. The stars shine the brightest, especially when the lights are shining the brightest. And so Tatum at the top, Mitchell 10-1, SGA 10-1, Brunson. I just can't get something out of my mind where it's like with some of these franchises that are truly playing for something bigger.
Yeah.
Like I just don't see the Celtics really, giving it their all for the in-season tournament. I don't know.
Then again, Joe Mazzulla is the level of psycho that might have them fired up and ready to roll with it. So it is about who takes it seriously. The Celtics, you can't count them out, and I mean they've looked terrific to start this year, just as expected. So I'm not willing to fully pull them off the table, but I do hear your point there that I think this does speak to a slightly different level of goals for team. And well, once again, that's why I'm in on the Cavs, that I think they check that box as well.
Oh, I love it. Cousin Nicky checking back in. He says, "Does JJ Redick care about the NBA Cup?"
You better believe it. Dude, snapping clipboards left and right. I guarantee Redick's going to have that squad fired up. Not quite the next Pat Riley, the way that he was attempting to be crowned through the first couple weeks, but I've still been overall impressed with how the Lakers have looked this season. Not ruling him out from this, but I do think like 2 years in a row would be a little surprising to me for a team.
All right. And of course, Sam checking in. He said, coasting to 30. JoJo's dropping 30, according to Sam. And I believe you could, that's an alternate line that you can get. He actually texted me. I want to say it was plus 215 for Joel Embiid to go over 30 tonight. So if you're feeling froggy, take a leap. Just make sure you're doing it at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, Sean Barnard. We hit the Sixers and Knicks. We got 7 other matchups to get into. As always, like we do on Picks and Roll, we're going to give you a little something from each, and then we'll give you a play or two on the way out. And folks, if you're just joining us, this is the Takeover presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And bottom line is they are offering the NBA Cup Double Up Profit Boost Pack. So get on over to DraftKings Sportsbook, fire up the app, and take advantage of everything they have to offer for the NBA Cup. One's a live wager. The other one is a same-game parlay. All the details will be right there in front of you. If you missed anything or any of this show, we're going to have it up for you at foxphlgambler.com. All right, let's go ahead and fire up DK for tonight's games here. Once again, 8 total tonight, and then we got 8 on Friday as well. Sixers and Knicks is my favorite, but my second favorite. Let's just go ahead and hit it. 10 p.m. The return of Klay Thompson to the Bay. It's pretty special. It's going to be a great game. Warriors and Mavericks. It's 10 p.m. this evening. Final game here. Actually, there's 2 games going off at 10 p.m. I apologize about that, but this one is a little bit bigger than the T-Wolves and the Trailblazers. Klay played 13 seasons with Golden State. He missed 2 because of injury. 11 seasons out there on the floor, 4-time NBA champion with Golden State. Just a splash brother. And I'm curious, right? Like, this is one of those plays that I feel like we should all have. He's going to get the opportunity. They're going to feed him. The question is, will the defense on the side of on the other side of the ball be able to limit him? Because that's what we've seen from Golden State to start this season, is they are really good defensively. So I'm wondering where you stand on this one. Golden State 2.5-point favorites at home. 235 is our total. The return of Klay Thompson, his first game back after leaving for Dallas this summer. Sean Barnard, your thoughts on that from Klay's perspective? He's going to be firing. Is he going to be able to get him off?
Yeah, I don't mind getting involved in the Klay Thompson action because there will be, the sentimental value with this game. From the actual game perspective, I feel pretty strongly about the Warriors taking care of business in this one. They're 8-2 on the season, 8-2 straight up, or 8-2 against the spread as well. Dallas is also, Derek Lively is listed as questionable. They're 1-3 without him this year, and I think that'll be a pretty significant loss if he's unable to go, particularly with how much they build off him offensively. Lively has become like a pretty core part of that team really quickly and is a perfect fit for what they need. So that would be a big loss there. I do think Golden State has found something in the way they're swarming defensively. I do think that's going to give Klay a little bit of trouble. As far as his numbers on the year, 13.8 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, is shooting 35.4% from 3 on 8.2 attempts per game, 41.8% from the field overall. I think he's been mostly solid, but you can see the limitations in him at this point, that he is a guy that is more or less a catch and shooter, and Luka Doncic can absolutely put it on the mark and create those opportunities for him, but don't feel very strongly about him being capable of taking guys off the dribble or doing much more than that at this point. So do side for the Warriors for this game, even though I think there will be Klay will come out shot happy for sure.
Oh, yeah, you know that. Like he did it in the first game for Dallas this year, where he was just firing, and I think he hit 5, I want to say, or something. It was a number that was set the franchise record for a debut as far as three-pointers made. I know he cashed that in opening 6. It was 6. There you go. Thank you. Well, tonight, 2.5 is his number on DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, juiced up crazy, -168. So, of course, you might want to take a look at as far as a leg for a same game parlay, bump it up a little bit, get that juice down. But 2.5 as far as 3-pointers made are right here as far as his prop is concerned. And then over to his player point prop, 15.5 for Klay Thompson. Now, again, the juices are going to be there. The attention will be there from Golden State. What's going to limit it? What is going to hold Klay from not cashing these? And it's missed shots, right? Other than that, if he's making them, he's going to attempt. How many 3-pointers do you think he attempts tonight?
I think he probably goes for double-digit attempts, and as I mentioned, over 8 per game that he's attempting on the season. That exact number sitting at 8.2 there. When you look at him through his career, his average 10.6 is his career high as far as in a season. There is opportunity in that Dallas offense that, it is Luka driving dish, a lot of ISO ball that he's drawing doubles, creating switches, and that Klay can be the beneficiary of it. I do think that there's going to be, just as Klay is going to be eager to get shots up, I think Golden State's going to be eager to limit them as well. It is interesting, while it's mostly in good spirits, it does feel like there's a bit of an undercurrent here as far as, him not leaving. I wouldn't say on bad terms, but it was the end of an era. And I do think he felt a little disrespect for the way that he was asked to leave that organization. So I think that feeling's a bit mutual. I think there will be a concentrated defensive effort from Golden State. So I more point to that defense, which has been incredibly strong so far this season. So not as gung-ho on Klay Thompson as my heart would like to be.
All right. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, the last 5 games, he's only gone over 3.5 one time, where he hit 4 in a game. So could be interesting there. Again, 2.5 right here on DraftKings Sportsbook. As far as points, scored 15.5 at -125. All right, from Klay to his other brother, which would be Steph Curry. No longer teammates, but always connected, of course. One of the best duos to ever play the game. 25.5 for Steph Curry, -120 here. Luka, 29.5. If I made you give me a pick between those two superstars, who's going over their number? Which way you going?
I would go with Luka for this one. I think both have a chance to, but I don't think Luka has hit his prime of scoring for this season. He's averaging 28.3 points per game, which is obviously great by your average player standpoint, but this was the guy who led the NBA in scoring last year at 33.9 points per game, averaged 32.4 in the season prior. So I do think he's due to go on a little bit of a run as far as scoring output. And I do think Golden State, when they're at their best, they're trapping, they're sending multiple bodies at players. I think Luka is capable of keeping enough of an angle or being away from the court enough that kind of creates issues if that's the way you're going to defend them, that it opens up passing lanes, kind of allows the offense to function how you design it to be. So I think Luka is a tough matchup standpoint from that perspective. So I do think he has his opportunities to get up plenty of shots, and I think Luka is going to go on a heater in the coming weeks.
Ooh, all right. So maybe something like this tonight with the NBA Cup gets him going, gets the juices going. Luka's one of those guys too as well. More for DraftKings perspective. Release the Buddy Hield props. Let's go.
It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, he's been cashing, he's been hitting, and he's been fitting in nicely. Of course, no surprise there. But to me, Sean, it comes down to defense, and I think that's where you're going. And you said you like the Golden State Warriors again this evening. As far as the spread and total is concerned, we are looking at 2.5, a high number of 235 for the total here. But defensively, that's one of the things that's really impressed me the most about the Warriors. Great start to the season. Dallas, on the flip side of that, they're 505-5. You said you like the Warriors. Do we feel like this might be an underplay from one perspective, one team here?
Yeah, I don't hate that. I definitely lean towards the -2.5 as my favorite overall bet for this. And I like Golden State has gone deep in their bench more so than any other team. They've been playing with a 12-man rotation for a good part of the season, has kind of settled out from that a little bit in recent games, but still willing to dig down there. And there's players that have been delivering. I mean, the guy that has really popped every time I've watched him has been Lindy Waters III, who is a guy that probably isn't on many people's radar. Played for the Thunder for a couple seasons, is a really intriguing guy, but they have all these switchable, versatile athletes that they're willing to throw at them. It's clear they've changed their identity as far as they are defensive minded. So if it is a low scoring affair, I think that only favors the Warriors further. So do like the -2.5 and don't hate the under as a play.
All right, let's go ahead and hit the card here. Sean Barnard, if you got any thoughts out there, love to hear your takes. Once again, get involved in the conversation at Fox PHL Gambler, at Fox PHL Gambler, and be sure to read Sean Barnard's content over at DKNation.com. Hawks and Celtics. Celtics battled back over the weekend with a nice victory Hawks a little all over the place here. Big time number, though. Possibly, I believe, the biggest spread on the board. Celtics are favored by 15, 222.5. Any shot that this is a ball game in your mind, Barnard?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. That I do like the Celtics minus 15 here. The Hawks are going to be without Trae Young, who's battling a bit of a Achilles issue, not something that you want to mess with. So they kind of have him shut down. Bogdanovich is also out, and DeAndre Hunter missing as well. So shorthanded, the Hawks are 4-7 on the year. They're also 2-7 in their last 9. So really have struggled in recent games. They also played the Celtics already this year, with that game finishing 123-93 in favor of Boston. So a 30-point loss there. I don't feel any better about the Hawks putting up a fight in this one. There are some encouraging signs of life. Jalen Johnson has looked pretty impressive throughout this year. Zachary Risachet has shown his flashes of why he was the number 1 overall pick. But I do think that Boston's just too much for this matchup. And I think this one gets out of hand pretty early.
Yeah, man, 15-point spread. That's exactly telling you on that one what they believe is going to happen there. Yeah, speaking of the Rookie of the Year award market, Zach Edey back in front, plus 310. Front runner, Edey Muse. Are we backing him? Are we still riding with him? Or are we going to go with anybody else? Obviously, November 12th here.
Yeah, it's as open for the taking as I can remember a Rookie of the Year race, to be perfectly honest. That like Edey's kind of been thrown into the forefront just because he's a guaranteed minutes guy, that he's starting most games for a borderline contender with the Memphis Grizzlies, that this isn't like a, bottoming out team, although they obviously were pretty bad last year. I don't hate the Stephon Castle shout from Cousin Nicky in the comments there. I think that's a guy that'll be in play. I think Jared McCain is starting to make his case.
Hey, now.
I'm not ruling it out. I think it's unlikely he sees the amount of minutes required for McCain to have a legitimate Rookie of the Year campaign. But based on the injuries and how the season has gone, I'm not ruling that out being possible. So his 27-point performance is the second highest of any rookie on the slate all season, trailing only Risachet in that category. So as open for the taking as I can remember a Rookie of the Year race. It still is anyone's game for sure.
Jared McCain, if he won Rookie of the Year, the victory lap that they could take down there in Camden would be unbelievable, because nobody saw that. Nobody saw Jared McCain Rookie of the Year conversation. Now we're a ways away. He's 30-1. Do you think that possibly we should have a flyer on that in your mind?
I do believe that is the case, that I think he's done enough in this short period of time to prove that he's a capable rotation player. It's all about the opportunity that he sees. And I think like the amount of injuries that have popped up and frankly probably should be expected to continue is good for Jared McCain's case here. So he's probably the best shooter on the Sixers straight up right now. And I think that's enough to create opportunity on the floor for him. So I'm not saying it's super likely. I think the minutes are the biggest cap on him, but the dude can play. He's ready. He's not afraid of the moment by any means. So I don't think having a Jared McCain ticket is a bad investment.
No, and he's scrapping. He's on the floor, diving for balls, hitting big shots. He could take, he doesn't get rebounds all that much, but when he does get
rebounder, you'd be surprised. Over 5 a game in college.
That's amazing, because that was the one glaring thing to me. It's like, man, my guy is small out there, but doesn't matter. I don't expect him to go down there and pull down boards. But when he does, he attacks. That's what I like, the transition. He hits the ground running, has great handles, not afraid to command. And look, we're only a few games into it, and the sample size is even smaller from his play. But I was impressed in that game against Charlotte. Let's just leave it at that. All right, moving on. Speaking of Charlotte, interesting team here. And really good game here with the Magic. Magic are 8.5-point favorites, 213. I believe the Magic are undefeated at home this year at 5-0, but dealing with the tough loss of Paulo Banchero. That is just brutal. But what have you seen since he's gone down? It's been a few games, and does it warrant an 8.5-point spread here in your mind? Orlando favorite here.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando's got a lot of young talent, a lot of bodies, so they probably can fare better than most with the loss of Paolo, but that's still their franchise centerpiece. That it's obviously going to hurt. They're coming off back-to-back wins. They're 5-6 on the season overall. I do like the Hornets to stay within the plus 8.5 and keep this a game throughout. I think Charlotte's turned into a fairly competent just roster this season. Brandon Miller, the real deal. LaMelo Ball is playing tremendous. He's recording a ridiculous 38% usage rate so far this year, which is off the charts, well above what he was last year or throughout his career. The Hornets are 4-6 this season. They're 3 of their 6 losses have been less than 8.5 games. I think there's enough talent on this roster that they can compete in this matchup. And I don't think Orlando has necessarily that amount of like killer instinct to put a game away. So the Hornets are young, scrappy. I think they fight. I think this stays within the plus 8.5, but probably lean towards the Magic still getting the win.
They do fight. They do scrap. You saw the game on Sunday. You saw the way they opened up the season against Houston. They were trailing, and they battled back, and LaMelo's healthy at this point in time, knock on wood. 27.5 is his number. That's the highest point total on DraftKings Sportsbook for that game there. Your thoughts on LaMelo going over his total at 27.5?
Yeah, I like it. That I do think LaMelo Ball has never seen a shot that he doesn't like, and he makes that quite clear when he's on the floor. So far, so far this season, he's averaging 29.4 per game, also shooting 13 3-point attempts per game, which I believe is leading the NBA. It was as of a couple days ago, at least. I think he comes out flying. He comes out letting it fly and has no problem reaching this total. So it may not be by the most efficient mark, but I do like his chances of clearing 27.5 one way or another.
He's absolutely must-see TV.
He's fun. Yeah, I do like LaMelo. And he's never seen a shot that he doesn't like. Like the LaMelo Ball story, and to their credit, like Charlotte came back, scrapped that game, and had a chance to win it against the Sixers. But to me, the LaMelo Ball story is he shot one of like the worst decision shots that I've seen, as far as he just caught a pass, was like fading away off the bench, chalked up a three, hit it, and then hit the ice in his veins celebration at Nick Nurse as they're down 8 points in the fourth quarter. And I'm just like, yeah, that's LaMelo Ball right there. So it's the experience, but the dude can play. Don't get it mistaken.
No, you're right about that. All right, so let's get on over to the next game here on the DraftKings card. You got the Heat and the Pistons. Jimmy Butler, question mark. He playing tonight?
I believe so. I'm going to double check on the injury report. I did not see anything for him. Has not played his best basketball so far. And it does not look like I'm seeing him, or has been ruled out. I'm sorry. So no Jimmy Butler, which
no
does
James.
explain,
Okay. Yeah. So
explain the one.
The Heat are only a 1.5 favorite in this game.
Yeah, and to be honest, I like the Pistons. I think this is the type of opportunity that a young, scrappy team can go in there and take advantage. And as has been the case with the Heat for several years at this point, you're not exactly sure what version of them is going to show up on a night-to-night basis. I will give a quick shout-out to Tyler Hero, who I think has been quietly excellent to start the season. He's averaging 23.2 points, 5.2 rebounds, 5.0 assists, shooting 45% from beyond the three-point arc. The points and assists are both career-high marks for him. These teams have also already faced off this year. The Heat did get a 106-98 victory last week in Miami, but this game will be taking place in Detroit. And I do think this is the type of setting and the type of opportunity that a young, scrappy team can capitalize on. So I like Detroit Pistons minus 102 on the money line.
Yeah, and the Pistons are looking to battle back after a tough loss to the Houston Rockets on Sunday, where Tobias Harris had an opportunity to tie the game at the free throw line, missed the first, so he had to miss the second intentionally, and they ended up losing by 2 points. The story of the Detroit Pistons, though, is Cade Cunningham, correct?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Absolutely a franchise centerpiece type player. It's even been strange to me, like last year, as bad as the Pistons were on that losing streak, Cade was great for most of the season and really has been through his career. So it's been disappointing they haven't done a good enough job of building out the rest of that roster. But on the season overall, 23.1 points, 7.3 rebounds, 8.3 assists per game. He can do it all. Cade's the real deal.
Yeah, he had 3 games in a row with a triple-double.
Yeah.
And, that's
special
not easy
stuff. Yeah.
Very, 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 very true on that one. All right, so you're rolling with the home Detroit Pistons there. I like it. All right, next game on the card. Let's talk about Doc Rivers and his Milwaukee Bucks. 8.5-point favorites against Toronto Raptors. Raptors were dealing with a couple injuries as well. Tough start to the season. 225 is our total in this one. 8-10 tip-off here. Man, the Bucks, I can't put my finger on it, but have they been starting to look a little bit better since Thursday night? They mixed a win in there. They were able to get a dub. But again, I just don't have confidence in the 8.5. It's a big time number, but I think I would take the Bucks here in this spot. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't like the Bucks at all, to be perfectly honest. And especially Damian Lillard now in concussion protocols will not be in for tonight's game as well. So just getting worse for them. They look old, they look slow, and it looks like a Doc Rivers team, to be perfectly honest. And to contrast that with this Raptors team, I've been pretty impressed with them so far this year. They rank 10th in pace, 2nd in assist rate, 3rd in most shots per game, and are 8-3 against the spread. They're young, they're scrappy, they fight. Grady Dick has been excellent this year, a guy that looks like he's taking that next step. Emmanuel quickly has returned to the floor now. RJ Barrett, a competent NBA player that can absolutely go toe-to-toe with each of these guys on the Bucks here. So it will take a special Giannis performance for them to win this game, and that's sad to say against the Raptors on a random Tuesday night here in November. So I like the plus 8.5, and to be perfectly honest, I think the plus 275 on the money line is not a bad swing to take.
Yeah, if there's one guy that can give you that special performance, it is Giannis. He's leading the league in scoring 31.6, and he did just drop 43 against the Celtics in a loss, albeit on Sunday, but still, we know what type of effort Giannis can give. And, oh, by the way, the Bucks played very well last year in the in-season tournament 4-0 to open a group stage play, and then what did they do? They made it to the Final Four, correct? I think they lost in the Final Four.
I think so. I'll also point out that was still Adrian Griffin's time as the head coach. So not going to give Doc Rivers any credit for that one.
Right. All right. From the standpoint of the player points prop here, once again, we're talking about Giannis. So DraftKings Sportsbook, I'm sure, is flexing a big time number for Giannis here, if I can find
34.5 for Giannis.
Woo-wee.
Yeah.
Who else is getting it? That's the question, right? Like, if you're going to wager on this game and you back the Bucks, you better believe that you're going to need production like that from Giannis. So I can actually get there with that. I don't know if I would place a wager on it, but Giannis tonight, 34.5. You taking the over?
I feel like you kind of have to on Giannis at this point. There's so much on his plate. I probably prefer the combined points, rebounds, and assists. And as far as that number, the over under for that for Giannis is sitting at 54.5, which is a ton. He would be my pick for the king of the court DraftKings promo that they've been running for that. I do think he's going to be everywhere as far as the stat sheet goes. There's really not a lot of areas for just consistent offense when looking down this Bucks team. That Bobby Portis has been really bad to start the season, has shot them out of a couple games. Brook Lopez finally looking his age. And while Damian Lillard has had a couple impressive performances and knocked down a ton of threes, he's now going to be out for this one. So it's back on Giannis shouldering the complete load. I do expect an impressive statistical output from him. So do like the points and the combined total there.
All right, next game up here on the card, 9:10 p.m. We got the Suns and Jazz. Game being played in Utah. Utah struggled this season. No surprise there. Phoenix, though, playing really well, but of course lost Kevin Durant over the weekend. Tough loss there. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. 5.5 point spread. 227 is our total here. Sean Barnard, your thoughts on this game?
I like the Phoenix Suns, and I've actually been really impressed with them, how they've played this year. Far more team basketball, far more ball movement. And I saw a clip that was going wild on Twitter as far as Kevin Durant yelling at Yusuf Nurkic for not passing enough. And he was very much firmly in the, we're a team, get the ball to Royce, let's swing it around. So I do think it's pretty night and day different from how they looked last year. As you mentioned, losing Kevin Durant, a huge deal there. Durant on the season was ranking 28th in usage rate across the NBA. It's going to be a lot more on the plates of Devin Booker and Bradley Beal there. Beal is particularly the guy I'm going to have my eye on the coming weeks as far as what does he still have in the tank at this point in his NBA career. I haven't loved the minutes that we've seen from him pretty much across the board since he got to Phoenix. I know that he's the third fiddle in the pecking order there, but still a guy that I expected more from, especially based on what he's being paid and what they invested to bring him over there. So those will be the two guys that I'm watching, but do still think the Suns take care of business, cover the -5.5. And I will note the Jazz ranked 26th in threes allowed, and fourth worst in opponents' points per game. So I don't think they have the defense to slow down the Suns offense, even with them being without Durant.
What's the latest with Beal? He had an elbow sprain on Sunday, collided with DeMar DeRozan. He had x-rays, came back on his left knee, so he's beat up. Well, that's normal for Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
So he had an x-ray on his left knee following the game. Results came back negative, saying he's most likely to go. But what's anything updated there for you?
Yeah, not much more than that it seems like he plans on fighting through it. X-rays were negative, which is the most important thing. His quote after the game was, "It feels a little sore, but X-rays were negative, which is the best thing I could have asked for. So probably just a bad bruise or something," and said that he does plan on playing through it. So obviously we'll see if that limits him to an extent. I think there's a lot of pressure on Bradley Beal during this stretch. So we'll be watching out for that one, but not changing my expectations based on that.
I agree with you on that one. All right. From the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns, we'll go ahead and close up shop. Final game on the card for us here on the Takeover, the T-Wolves and the Portland Trailblazers. T-Wolves 8.5 point road favorite in Portland. 221.5 is our total here. Hard not to take the favorite, in my opinion. Sean Barnard, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you here. And unfortunately, you see it more and more nowadays, but games can be won and lost at the 3-point line. And that's exactly what I expect to happen in this one. Portland ranks last in the NBA in 3-point makes. The Timberwolves are allowing the second best opponent 3-point percentage. I don't think that there's going to be enough other sources of offense for them to overcome it. I think Timberwolves end up walking away with this one and covering the -8 fairly easily. I still have no clue what to make of this Trailblazers team. It feels like they should be better than they are, but they've been a tough watch every time that I've flipped them on. Scoot Henderson, I've been extremely disappointed in and ready to start panicking over what his future outlook is. So a lot more question than answers surrounding Portland. I feel pretty good about Minnesota tonight.
Minnesota 6-4 on the season. Portland 3-8, 4-6 ATS for the T-Wolves, and 5-1 for the Portland Trailblazers. Of course, when you're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, you got to talk about the Ant-Man, one of the more shining superstars in the game going right now as far as the NBA is concerned. Player point prop total for Mr. Anthony Edwards, Sean Barnard. Where are we looking for that one? 26.5 is the number here on DraftKings Sportsbook. If you had to take a wager on that one, we on the over?
It would be on the over, and averaging 28.3 points per game on the season. The biggest storyline with Ant's overall development and growth is the 3-point volume has been significantly increased this year, 11.8 3-point attempts per game. His previous career high was 8.4, so a significant uptick there. He's also shooting 45.8% from beyond the arc, so really high level shooting there. His free throw, both volume and percentage has gone down. So still leaving a little bit of room for growth on the table there. He's shooting just 67.4% at the free throw line. That's pretty uncharacteristic and something I expect to go up over the course of the season. So do like Ant's points. I do think that Portland is just not quite good enough across the board. And I don't think that they're going to be able to slow Ant down to any extent. So do lean towards the over there.
All right. As always, Sean, we close up shop with a few plays and hopefully a few wins. And get on over to DraftKings Sportsbook. Take advantage of the promos that they have to offer. Once again, it is the takeover, and we got a lot going on from DK. It's the double up profit boost pack. You can place one of those profit boosts on an in-game play as far as live wager is concerned. The other one will be an NBA Cup same game parlay, 3 legs requirement. Of course, all the details there on the DraftKings app. With that being said, one favorite play. What's your favorite play tonight for the NBA Cup opener?
Across the board, it would be Raptors plus 8.5 is my favorite play for this one. And as I mentioned, I do think they're a live dog, that I don't think it's a bad ticket to have for the money line.
Raptors, as far as the live dog action, I like it. Giving you know what to Doc Rivers on that one. Okay. Your favorite player prop tonight is what?
That would be Paul George over 9.5 rebounds and assists. I do think that he's going to fill the stat sheet. As I mentioned, 8 assists and 9 assists in the past 2 games. I think he can clear that just as a playmaker, and will need to help out on the rebounds as well. So over, I believe 8.5 is the full number on DraftKings, but a pretty juiced number. So the 9.5 to get a little plus value there.
I'm going to go with Clay. He's special, man. He's special, and the moment is going to be there. Klay Thompson on DraftKings Sportsbook, for him to hit 4+ 3-pointers plus 135. We'll swing it for the fences a little bit in Klay's return to the Bay. I know it's going to be a special night. So I'm looking at Klay Thompson. He's definitely going to be one of my legs for the same game parlay. I think I'm going to back the 76ers too, Sean Barnard. I'm feeling it.
Love it. Love it. No, I agree. And that would be, if you made me make my 3 favorite plays, it would be the Raptors plus 8.5, the Paul George rebounds and assist combo, and then Sixers money line. That I do think they win tonight. I do think that Joel Embiid just being back changes everything for this franchise. So I'm ready for their best performance of the season and excited that it gets to happen right against our favorite New York Knicks.
I love it. Sean Barnard, fantastic stuff as always, my friend. No one I like to break the game of hoops down more with than you. As always, you can find Sean Barnard on social, Sean_Barnard1, DKNation.com. Make sure you check him out there as well, all of his content. And as always, we'll be back on Friday with another takeover, getting you ready for the NBA Cup. But as always, DraftKings Sportsbook is where we're getting our odds from. Make sure you check out the boost that they have to offer. Once again, all you got to do is get on over to the app. New users, please, new users, make sure you use braces or promo code and check out the NBA Cup double up profit boost. Sean Barnard, any final thoughts before we get out of here, my friend?
Yeah, we still got a lot of good hoops to take place this season. So let's enjoy the in-season tournament. Approach it with an open mind. The NBA Cup is for the taking. So enjoy the special courts and don't write this one off as just another regular season game. The NBA is trying something fun, so be open-minded about it.
And JoJo is back. We'll be talking about Joel Embiid back in a Sixers uniform tomorrow and all things from the NBA Cup action and more. Sean Barnard, fantastic stuff. Everybody, if you missed anything, get on over to foxphlgambler.com.
The Takeover is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Be sure to take advantage with the NBA Cup Double Up Profit Boost. If you missed anything, all details can be found on foxphlgambler.com. Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, total traffic for Philadelphia.
We jet up a 95 northbound.